Hi, Jessica.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. Where are you coming out of?
I'm in Dallas.
Dallas, Texas. Okay. How's
Yeah.
Dallas today?
It's okay. We're really excited for some fall weather. Unfortunately, we're still 90.
Yeah.
So,
Indian summer's hanging on. I'm in Kansas City. It always happens like that here. Just
oh, really?
always hot. Last time I was in Dallas, I saw, are you familiar with the LA musician Jason Faulkner? He tours with Beck.
No, I'm not.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He was in a band called Jellyfish. They were kind of a big time band in the late 90s. I mean, phenomenal. They have that whole Beatles-esque vibe to them. But anyways, he was playing, where was he playing at? It was oh man, it was a cool little club in downtown Dallas. I'd never really been there, and it was a great show.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was good. Well, hey, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. So before we get into your life and your work and your mission and everything that makes you who you are, I want to know, how did you survive the last 3 years? Living through COVID, all of that. How did you get through it? How did it change you?
Oh my God. Well, if I'm honest, I began my entrepreneurial journey in 2019.
Okay.
So like probably about 8 months before the pandemic actually hit, or maybe a year. And so at that time I was doing fitness, and I also was working at a gym called Equinox. So during the pandemic, I was doing both. And the pandemic actually gave me an opportunity to like stop and really reassess what I was doing. And so I got let go of my job, and so I was like, okay, maybe this is an opportunity to like fully commit to my online business. I did that for about a year, and then I got another hit of a spiritual awakening, and it really allowed me to get clear on what is it that I actually want to help people with, because fitness isn't it. Because I started receiving people who had more body image issues and a lot of self-esteem issues that the gym's just not going to fix,
Yeah.
and so it gave me a reflection within my own self. Of course, people are always a reflection of ourselves, and I started to really look at the way that I felt about myself and all of that to say, I started working on my subconscious mind, and it gave me an opportunity, again, so many opportunities, gave me an opportunity to really get clear on what I was able to do with myself and people. And I realized everything that we want to do is just out of is really seeing our potential, but we're so afraid to tap into it because of X, because of this, because of that. So if we can really work on our unconscious mind and work in the nervous system, all of that, we can really tap into our potential. We could really see what we're made of. We could really live a fulfilling life. And so that was the start of my transition into the umbrella of life coaching. So I do tons of different stuff. I do Reiki, I do breath work. Um, I help people kind of work with their unconscious mind. So I do a lot of NLP. And so, yeah, the pandemic really gave me an opportunity to just pause and break apart a lot of things that were no longer serving me. My fitness business broke apart. The first year of my life coaching business broke apart. And last year was more of like my dark night of the soul, if you will. So I went through a lot of personal things, a lot of challenges, and coming to this year, I've been never been more clear in my life and my business and who I am, what I stand for, what I want, and all of that. So the pandemic for me was just such a blessing in disguise of just really allowing me to slow down and get really clear on what my purpose is.
I think a lot of people had silver linings and clairvoyant moments that made
Yeah.
them look in the mirror. And if we didn't do that, then we probably didn't have a pulse,
Yeah. Yeah.
realistically. So let's get to the essence of what you do for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day, okay? One of the kids looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I help people feel the best about themselves, feel the most authentic version of themselves.
So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
I wanted to do a ton of stuff, actually. I was that kid. I was like, I want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be a journalist. Um, and I wanted to do, and I think as I got older, things got more clear. And I didn't, again, a lot of, I feel like also too, like my generation, like I'm 30, I'm going to be 31 next week. And so I feel like a lot of our generation was always like, do this to get here, right? Success looks like going to college and doing all these different things. And so for me, I didn't have a lot of resources, a lot of outlets to really like figure out what I really wanted. So for me, it was like, I want to be creative and I also want to be a businesswoman. So I actually went to school for fashion, merchandising, and marketing because I went to Kent State and they have like a really great fashion program. So
Yeah.
maybe I just kind of followed the herd, if you will. And it was a way for me to be creative. And so from there, I started doing that and I was like, well, I want to start my career in LA. So I moved to Los Angeles in 2016, was there for 5.5 years. And then that's where everything kind of started unraveling of like, I don't want to be in a cubicle. I don't want to work for somebody else. And also, I want to help people. And that
Yeah.
was through my own, I gained like 30 pounds in 5 months. So I really had to commit to my own physical body and really stop neglecting myself because I think I was partying too much and all this different stuff to numb what I was feeling at the job that I was at
Yeah.
because I was kind of again told like, no, you can't do this. You only can go up this ladder. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things kind of transpiring from that. But yeah, those were kind of all of my desires when I was younger, which is so interesting because I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I think I wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people, but I also wanted to be a businesswoman. And then that just kind of started expanding.
So I think that's the essence of being on this planet for a long time, is that you finally eventually find what your gift is or what your calling is, so to speak.
Yeah.
So let's go back to where you were born and raised and how some of these seeds early on became who you are to want to help people.
Oh, well, my mom was such a really incredible woman. She raised me just herself, basically. And she was such an independent woman. And she taught me to think for myself. She taught me to, sky's the limit. And I really don't think without her support, I would have been able to have so much courage to like up and leave my hometown, to up and leave everything that I knew. I'm an only child as well. So there was so much, I think, pressure
Mhm.
to live a certain way, to, live by society's rules, live by, the expectations of others. I think that was like my big story I told myself. And so I think for me, I've always been somebody that wanted others to succeed. And I also had really big ambitions ever since I've been younger, I think because of my mother. And
Yeah.
so when I was going to move to Los Angeles, the first thing that she said was, go, like, don't stay for me. Like, there's nothing here for you in Ohio. Like,
Yeah.
just go and follow your dream. And I think with her support, it gave me kind of this wall breakdown of how I thought I needed to be because I had a lot of friends that were like, "Oh my gosh, how can you do that? How can you leave your mom? How can you like live for you?" Really is what
Yeah.
they were saying. Like, how can you just abandon everybody and everything that you ever known? So I think that when I had that support for myself and then started to see myself become successful, I started to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. And yeah, I think the biggest thing of helping others was ultimately through my own journey of gaining so much weight and realizing like, hey, I'm abandoning my own self and my self-respect and I'm partying and I'm just not taking care of myself. So then when I got into the gym and I got into nutrition, I just fell in love with how my body responded,
Mhm.
but also how excited I was for knowledge. It was like my first investment in myself within like a trainer and stuff. And so that just opened doors to like, oh my gosh, what if I could do this too? Because at the same time, I started to see the truth of the company I was working for and also see the truth of I wasn't happy. So what am I going to do about it? I
Yeah.
could settle. I could just like commit to, I moved here to do this and this is the only thing for me. But there was something in my heart that was like, you can't. Like, you move 2,300 miles to
Yeah.
sit behind a desk and be miserable? No.
Yeah.
That was like my North Star, was just constantly like, what is gonna fulfill me? And moving through the fitness stuff and really, like, reclaiming my own, like, body image and feeling healthy about who I was as an individual, really just got me into wanting to help other people feel just as good as I was feeling.
So your true North Star, let's get to that. Who's been a hero for you in your life?
Oh, man. I mean, I f- I have a couple. I would say, I got really before I get into that part, actually, I would say number one would be my mom
Mhm.
because she's always just been that career-driven woman, successful. Like, unfortunately, she did have to sacrifice quite a bit of time with me when I was younger to really give me the best life I could have, but her heart is just literally the purity of unconditional love. So I would say she's like my number one. But when I get into more of like the business or the influences and the aspirations to really give me that permission that I think I was looking for as well to like start the business and do the thing. Um, I'd say back in 2016, 2017, 2018 was really when a lot of Instagram was starting to come out and a lot of influencers were gaining more popularity on there. And so for me, I always use Instagram as an opportunity to like be inspired. And so I have to say, Amanda Bucci has been such an incredible mentor for me. I had the opportunity to work with her last year, but in her journey at the time, she was kind of one of the, into my eyes, the one of the biggest leaders in the movement of starting an online fitness business. And so she became an influencer to then became a business coach to then helping other coaches, run their own business. So I went to a seminar and in person in LA in 2018, and it just gave me full-blown permission to like leave my job to pursue something I loved. So I think ultimately, I could name a ton of different people, but I think ultimately for me, what has been my biggest aspiration was being around other people that are already doing what I want to do and showing
Mhm.
me that it's possible for them and possible for me.
Sure. So let me ask you this. If you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
Oh man, that's like such a loaded question.
Mhm. I mean, you could have extra places at the table if you need to.
Wow. Hmm. You know, I think I need to sit on that for a second
Okay.
because there's many people coming
Yeah.
up.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. If you could witness one event that's happened on this planet with your own eyes, what would you love to have been to see?
Wow. Oh man. Hmm. One event. Huh. I know. That's also a stumpy question.
We can come back to it. We can circle back to it.
Yeah.
We'll get the brain going here. So this is what I this was kind of my lead in with meeting somebody you really like. They obviously, these people that we want to meet have high levels of motivation. They help
Yeah.
us dream.
Yeah.
What is that for you that helps you get up every day, that helps
Mm.
you be who you are and achieve what you want to get done?
Oh. I mean, I think it's twofold. I think it's me constantly expanding my desires and constantly expanding what it means to be authentic and free. And so there's that selfish layer to it where I don't think it's selfish as a negative thing, but I think more of just a personal aspiration of what it really means to just live for yourself and not to care what people think of you. And so that motivates me every day. And then also, I think that helping other people is, such a big part of the work that I do. And it just is so fulfilling to see other people succeed. And I don't necessarily mean monetarily succeed. I don't necessarily mean like, they have the best career ever. I mean succeed in like the essence of like pure self empowerment to really go all in for themselves, whatever that means. Like, if that's like letting go of a crappy relationship because it's mediocre, if that's like moving out of your apartment and moving into a new city just so that you can have the opportunities available to you, whether that is just getting out of your comfort zone and allowing yourself to be seen for who you actually are and not hiding in these facades all the time. So, yeah, I think it's twofold of just my own dream and what I'm expanding into, what I see is possible for me, and
Yeah.
then also helping other people see what's possible for them just by listening to their heart ultimately.
So what has been one of your favorite success stories that you've been involved with so far?
Wow. Oh my gosh, I have so many. I'll say one more most recent because I feel like that's again so many women I've primarily worked with. But one of my clients, she was moving through a divorce and she did not feel worthy of someone who could really love her for her. And when we started working together, what she really recognized is that she didn't feel worthy within her own self. And by us really allowing the opportunity to come into what she needed to give herself, what she needed to reclaim within her own self, she was really able to recognize that she has everything within her to just be alone forever. And I don't mean that like I want to be single forever, but more of like when you can have the confidence in your own self to say, I don't need anybody to
Mhm.
complete me. I
Mhm.
think that is like such a beautiful expression of wholeness. And so it was a really beautiful experience to work with her because she was just all bent up with anxiety and depression and just, feeling like what else is there? I need to constantly be in like my bad cycles and my bad experiences to remind me like what's familiar versus how can I think greater outside of my environment? How can I push myself into discomfort, push myself into courage to show myself what is possible when I choose myself? And then just seeing her really take action in different ways. And it was a beautiful unfolding for her. So,
So let's say you have a dream tonight and you run into the version of you right before you were getting ready to leave Ohio to go to LA. And you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained throughout all of these years and all of these avenues you've been down. What would you tell your younger version?
oh, keep going no matter if you fail, because failure is just a part of success.
That's
I
the
would say
true
that would be
entrepreneurial thing.
I know it is.
It's the cornerstone,
Yeah, it is. And
you
I
know?
feel like I've always been an ambitious person, but I think what really and I think another piece of advice actually I would give myself at that time is like let go of what other people think of you
Yeah.
because everyone's gonna have an opinion and you just existing is gonna disappoint people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of those things are easier said than done. I mean,
Oh
truly,
my gosh. Yeah.
you hear all these like catchphrases of, owning your own company and entrepreneurs, but there's a lot that goes into it. It's almost like be, making it a habit after 90 days. You have to do it all the time. It's got to be a part of the fabric of who you are.
Yeah, it does. It has to be in your DNA. And I think that's like what has always pushed me along, where I've had some really big challenges in my business, really big challenges in my personal life that made me question what is my next move. Never did I once, though, I will say, never did I once say, this isn't for me. I've always been like, this is for me, but like, damn, it's really hard right now. So what do I do next?
Yeah.
It does. It needs to be a fabric of your being. It needs to be a part of your DNA to be an entrepreneur. And I think also just having the vision of what you desire. And it doesn't have to be crystal clear. It does not, because mine wasn't. I mean, I
Yeah.
started in all these different avenues to get me to a place of like, I want to run my own business, but it was more so the desire to create my own life in my own reality in the way that I wanted it to be. Because I don't know about you, but I just never meshed well with rules
Right.
and like you need to like do this in
Mhm.
order to be successful and this is how you do it and this is how a relationship looks like and da 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 and I've always been like the rebel kid
Yeah.
in that regard. I'm just like no, like I always push back and I'm like maybe sometimes it's like not the best, but and I'm like I just got to work for myself at this point because I just can't deal with all the rules and this and that and what's appropriate and what's not.
Yeah. History never remembers the obedient ones. So, I'm curious, you have to know people on a human level, and then you obviously are helping them on a spiritual level. And a lot of things have been going on with rights being restricted to women. There's a lot of things that have come under fire. So I'm curious, as we come out of this pandemic, and like you said, there was a lot of epiphanies that you hit. And there's a lot of things that happened over that time. George Floyd, the Roe v. Wade thing, all of these things that have really kind of put humans on a precipice, so to speak. Do you see us entering kind of an age of enlightenment, a reawakening? What's your take on how we're moving forward now?
Hmm. Oh, that's a loaded question too.
Right.
But I believe everything happens for a reason, and I know sometimes when things happen so personally to us, it's hard to see that. And sometimes I'll have my moments where I'm like, "Oh, this sucks. This is happening to me." But then once I like relax and really kind of take a step back, I see, "Oh no, it's happening for me." And so to me, the pandemic was meant to happen, and I think it was a big rupture in the ecosystem. I think it was a big rupture in our own evolution, because it showed us what was important and what wasn't. And now that we're going on, which is crazy, 3 years, going on almost 4 years of everything unraveling, and all of these, like you mentioned, protests and all of these big events that are happening, I just always feel like everything is here to give us another opportunity to say what is important, and can you believe everything that you hear? Um and so I think that we're moving towards having more freedom and having more autonomy, but will we ever get there? I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, I could go in a rabbit hole, but I just feel that there's always going to be a block, because there always needs to be a sense of control.
Yeah.
And if we are to be untamed and to be wild and free, the government's not going to like that. So and that's my personal perspective. That's my personal opinion from what I've personally experienced, and also my perspective of what the pandemic really symbolized, and how things were being taken of action and things that weren't being taken of action. So yeah, I think that's a tough one to swallow, and I would love to see things shift and change, but I'm just not sure really when that'll be the way that we really desire it to be. So with that being said, I think it's up to, and I think that also kind of like really stirred my desire for entrepreneurship, because of the autonomy that I got to have. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't want old white people, white men, to tell me
Right.
what to do and what not to do,
Exactly.
and being treated like complete crap in my
Yep.
corporate position because of my age, because of my demographic,
Mhm.
because of a seniority, all these different things I never agreed with, again, coming back to
Yeah.
like the rule breaker. And
Yeah.
so I think the more actually that we can start to find more autonomy in our own voice, we start to recognize like, hey, like the system is corrupt, and like, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's get to the crux of who you are. Everyone has a perception of you, family,
Yes.
friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Mm. I think that I am somebody who does everything out of integrity. And although I'm not a perfect human, and although I can misconstrue things and take things personally, I do try my best to always be objective and always be in a space of constant learning. So I think I'm somebody who would look at a situation, look at a view of the world, and take my own opinion into consideration, but also try to see other people's perspectives. And I think that allows me to come back to my moral compass, which is my heart, and come back to like, hey, you feel that way, but I feel this way. And I'm going to be okay with allowing myself to disappoint you if this is how I truly feel. Because I feel that a lot of people that I look up to, and a lot of role models that I have, what I admire most is not the success, not the money. It's how they advocate for themselves, no matter if everyone is in disagreement. Like you said, history doesn't remember the people that follow the rules,
Right.
right? And so I feel that like that's what leadership is. And I would really define myself as stepping into my own inner leader in that regard.
Right on. So Jessica, if anyone wants to hire you, learn more about your services, anything about your world, where do they go?
You can go to my website, jessicamariestep.com. I mostly hang out on Instagram, same handle at Jessica Marie Step. I'm always advocating my beliefs, my perspectives, but also again trying to allow other people to think for themselves in their best interest. And right now, I have a 16-week mastermind called The Inner Leader, which starts on October 18th. So I'll be kind of chatting up all about that
Right
recently.
on. Jessica, thank you for opening up your beliefs and your mission and what you're all about. I totally appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Best of luck with everything.